Oh, potatoes and molasses. I'm benefited here by the fact that I genuinely do like the flavor of molasses itself. There are many thoughts one may have while watching the adorable and delightful autumnal cult classic Over the Garden Wall. I mean, I alone had far too many thoughts to list. But one of the core thoughts that stuck with me post-first watch was potatoes and molasses. Can that work? I seek to answer the most niche questions on this channel. We gotta start as simple as possible, as close to what we see in the show as possible. Plain mashed potatoes with plain molasses poured on top. I am normally a loaded mashed potatoes kind of girl. Oh my god, whew! You know, I like it with the onions and garlic and cheese. I'll even leave the peels on. But for this, I thoroughly peeled, chopped, and then boiled a single potato, and then just added a little bit of milk and a little bit of butter. And I made it pretty creamy, although I wasn't willing to like put it in the blender or get out the mixer and actually whip it. Creamier than normal for me. Again, I'm a rustic mashed potatoes kind of person. Actually, I'll eat any potatoes if they're well made. But like this kind of mimics porridge in my head. Ooh, this smells so sweet. Because like here in America, we tend to think of oatmeal as the thing that you eat for breakfast in some sort of sweetened form, often with like cinnamon and sugar, maybe raisins. And if I'm eating oatmeal, which granted I haven't done in a while, but like my way to make it was always molasses and raisins. The thing that I've discovered through a bit of travel and a bit of hearing from other people is that around the world, people use a lot of other bases rather than just oatmeal. I had pasta in Iceland that was eaten like oatmeal. I know people do it with rice. Like there's all these different grains and starches that you can use as a base and still eat in that sweetened manner because they don't have a lot of flavor themselves. So to me, potato should just kind of be that same thing, right? A starchy, fairly flavorless base. All of that being said, let's try. How much should I put on here? I don't know, it's gotta be a good amount, right? Also, y'all, this has been in our pantry for so long, but it expires a month from now. Winning! Okay, admittedly, this doesn't look super appealing to me right now, but also it kind of just looks like a very dark gravy on mashed potatoes. I don't just typically eat gravy on mashed potatoes. Gravy was not hugely common in our house growing up. I don't know why. But y'all, if I like this in its most simple form, which like I genuinely might, the rest of the video that I have planned will be hugely unnecessary, right? I could just stop there. I do want to try to eat some of the warm potatoes because they've cooled around the edges while I've sat here talking. And I feel like the warmth would affect how good it is. Y'all, that's not bad. I think it would be better if I had gone the extra mile and like whipped my potatoes, just because like texture can affect what you think of taste more than we think. And they're still pretty lumpy mashed potatoes. But yeah, like my brain is just like, that tastes like potatoes and molasses, but potatoes don't really have much flavor. So it mostly just tastes like molasses on some sort of more substantial base. This is actually okay. Like, solidly okay. And I think if you wanted to go like the full-on porridge route, you could add cinnamon, nutmeg, like whatever spices you like on oatmeal. You could definitely add that to potatoes with molasses and eat it for breakfast. I guess the question that would be begged then is why? Like I know that potatoes, you know, became like a thing to eat all the time for every meal because they were cheap. Like it's a filling thing to eat during times that there have been famine, or if you just, you know, don't have money for groceries or something. So there's that angle of it. But I think when it comes to like things to eat for breakfast that are like substantial and filling and get you started on your day in like a good way with like stuff that is healthy for your body. I don't know that potatoes are usually the recommended item. So is it worthwhile eating potatoes in sweet form with molasses on them for breakfast or hey, for dessert? I don't know. I think like without having done any research whatsoever on this, I think oatmeal is probably like a little bit better for you in some way. However, do potatoes taste good with molasses on them? Honestly, yeah, unless you like very specifically don't like molasses, this is pretty good. I mean, I'm continuing to eat it, even though I don't necessarily have to. I do think I'm gonna go throw this in a bowl, add a little bit of cream, and then whip it really hard with the mixer, because I think that will take it from like this is fine to this is actually genuinely really good. Let's try. I threw in some cream and then went ahead and added a dash of cinnamon as well, because like why not lean even closer to porridge? Whipping it up with the mixer did make it a lot smoother, but there were still chunks in there. So I thought I would go extra bougie and sieve the potatoes. Ooh. Y'all, sieving potatoes is a workout. I kind of eventually got bored, but I had a whole glass full, so we're good. I also reheated them slightly, though probably not enough in retrospect. But we now have smooth brown slop. It kind of looks like applesauce to me, like a nice homemade applesauce, which is making me now want to make a nice homemade applesauce. I haven't done that in ages. I feel like we gotta do one last little drizzle for the looks. Ooh, looks. Okay, that doesn't really look any better. Whatever, don't question it. It is very smooth now. I should make some bougie mashed potatoes sometime. Actually, I take that back. Sieving them was not fun. I liked it better before. The smooth texture is nice, and I think using some cream rather than milk does make it like even thicker and richer and more porridgey. Porridgey? Here's the thing. Adding cinnamon and then my brain recognizing that like there is a potato flavor here is tricking me into thinking that these are sweet potatoes done in the way we always did them for Thanksgiving, where it was like brown sugar and cinnamon and the marshmallows on top, which I never ever liked. Yeah, I flew too close to the sun. Shouldn't have added cinnamon. That being said, it's reminding me of a thing I didn't like, and so now I'm like, ew, I don't like this. But if I like try to push that anti-nostalgic, that distaste for sweet potatoes out of my head, it's technically pretty good, and it definitely is like a nice porridge. So I guess we can just end the video here. Bye! Okay, not really. I'm tempted because, you know, that'd be so much easier, but I had a point. More than just putting molasses on potatoes themselves and calling it a day. I did first look up what other people have done in the realm of potatoes and molasses, because I was like, obviously, this show is way too popular for me to be the only one who was like, let me make something that blends potatoes and molasses. I found a few. Yeah, there were a few where people tried to make something that looked like the show, but in a more, you know, savory and tasteful manner. So they made like a molasses gravy of some kind. And then there were some people who did like molasses glazed roasted potatoes, which actually sounds pretty good. I should try that sometime. But the thing that immediately came into my head when I was thinking potatoes and molasses was potato bread, which is pretty dang good, and then like brown bread or molasses bread. Brown bread is usually that color because there's molasses in it to sweeten it. So if you have a potato bread and a molasses bread, why can't you have a potato and molasses bread? You know? So that's the actual plan, idea, whatever. I want to see if I can make a potato and molasses bread. And I looked it up first and did not find any recipes in my short search. I think I found one that was like a sweet potato and molasses quick bread, but I'm thinking more of a kneaded bread, which I have not been hugely successful at making in the past in general. Like my breads have been, I'd call it like a 20% success rate. 80% of them have been fails. This is not a great track record for then being like, hey, can I develop my own bread recipe? But we're gonna do it anyway. Let's try. Also, I'm totally gonna have to change first because this shirt is not great for doing things in. Well, I not only changed, I totally went to bed and got up again. Whee! Mostly because I got busy with other stuff, but also because I realized I didn't have any unexpired yeast. This keeps happening. But before we get to bready stuff, we need another batch of plain potato, peeled, chopped, boiled, and mashed. I left that to thoroughly cool while running to the store for yeasty needs, and then here's the plan. I'm using the King Arthur's potato bread recipe, only having it because that's a lot of flour for an experimental dough, you know? Do you want cuddles?
Hi. Oh, Bobby! Good morning. Dinky. Mommy.
Into the bowl goes flour, potato. Oh, that was already too much. Dang it, we have lots of extra potatoes. That's barely anything. All the other stuff the recipe says to put in, I don't think I need to list it all for you. Whoops. I'm only changing things when we get to the half cup of sugar, which would be a fourth cup in this case. There are 3 things that all the brown bread recipes I looked at had in common: molasses, honey, and cocoa powder. I'm assuming the cocoa is mainly for color and maybe a touch of that rich, bitter flavor, but I'm not really sure about the mix of molasses and honey. Maybe all molasses would be too sweet, but then why not just put in less? Maybe it would actually be not sweet enough. I don't know, but I figured I'd replace the potato bread sugar with a mix of the two, and here's what we got. Last thing to go in is the water, and they suggest using the potato water from when you boiled the potatoes, so there will be more potato flavor, because there's actually not that much potato in this. How many times can I say potato before the word loses all meaning to you? After a bit of mixing, it was looking a little watery, and I also just wanted to add more potatoes, so I did. Not very much though. I tend to rebel in very small quantities. And after the proper amount of mixing and kneading, I tried to really follow the timing directions provided since bread's not my forte. This is what we got. I am encouraged by the fact that despite all the changes that I made, it is looking and behaving exactly like the original recipe said it would, so that seems good. It's a fairly loose and sticky dough, but that seemed to be the expected style for the potato bread, even with the regular sugar in it. So we shall trust, put it in a covered bowl, and refrigerate it overnight as instructed.
You're so nice and cool.
Yeah. By the next morning, the dough was looking pretty promising. I mean, that rose quite a bit for being in the fridge. I did realize a short while after finishing it yesterday that I had forgotten to have the yeast though, so that's maybe why, and we're gonna find out how double the yeast affects bread, I guess. I'm going rogue again here because the recipe says to put the dough in a loaf tin, but I want to do rolls, mostly because I just prefer a roll over a slice of bread, but also because rolls reminded me of rock facts, and I found that ever so slightly amusing. Rolls thoroughly rolled, they get covered and left out to rise again for like 2 hours. I mean, they're looking pretty decent after 2 hours, and even though the recipe says you can leave them for up to 4, I'm gonna call it here and bake them. Is it because I bought time-specific tickets for a maker's market today and we need to leave soon? No, totally not. Yes. Well, it looks amazing and it smells amazing, so that's 2 points in its favor. I brushed the top with some honey and then added the oatmeal because that just seems to be a very common brown bread style. I thought the extra sweetness might be nice as well. The only thing with a dark bread like this is it's very hard to tell when it's actually baked. The King Arthur recipe did say that the internal temperature should be 190, and I checked that, and it was, so theoretically, it's baked. Let's try it, though. Ooh. Oh, y'all. That's like nice, soft bread. And it looks pretty perfectly baked, I think. It's not at all dense. You can tell it's like a very light bread. Sorry, I didn't finish that sentence. I don't know that I could say it tastes like potatoes or molasses, but I do think it's one of the best breads I've ever made. Texturally, at least. Hi! Do you want a little bit? Snack? Munch. You're so nice. And I mean, texture is the harder part for me over flavor, but like, I think this is so good. As far as like the softness, the fluffiness, yay, a good bread. Flavor-wise, it's interesting because my brain can tell that like there's something a little bit different here, and I don't think it's the molasses side or like even the honey or the cocoa powder. I think my brain is recognizing that there's a different like base flavor. It's the potato, only it's not actually recognizing it as potato. If you just gave me this bread and didn't tell me there was potato in it, I don't think I'd know. But I can just tell there's something different. I think overall it could be sweeter. If you're kind of going for a sweet brown bread anyway, that could be upped a little bit in my opinion. Because when I get a bit of the top with the honey on it, it's really good. It does have just sort of a richer flavor than like just a plain white bread, I guess. But y'all, I'm just so freaking happy that I made a bread that like texturally turned out really well. And it definitely still tastes good. I just think it could taste a little bit better, a little sweeter. And now that I've devoured an entire roll while sitting here talking, that's that. You want to make some potato and molasses bread? Highly recommend. I think this totally worked. It was a very easy alteration to the King Arthur recipe, and I think you could totally play around with, you know, are you gonna use all molasses or molasses and honey, molasses and maple syrup I saw in one recipe. Do you want to put the cocoa powder in or not? I don't think that really has any effect on like the texture and the rising and all that. It's too little of something. But yeah, if you're having an over the garden wall themed dinner party, these are the rolls that I would recommend. I'm so happy about it. See, I make a good bread and now I'm like, I should make bread more. I can succeed at getting the texture right. Yay! Do you really want more? The puppy loves it, so you know. High praise. It's not like he loves pretty much everything. Okay, this was fun and random. I'm gonna eat another one. Bye! I need someone to be proud of the fact that I'm sitting here dressed like this, filming myself eating mashed potatoes at 8 in the morning while there are people in my backyard. This is growth as a content creator. Let's name the zones, the zones, the zones. Let's name the zones of the big blue sea. Pause for pause. Come here. Don't nick my bread. You're so nice. Are you such a good boy? Mwah. Yo, there is so much going on right now. This was a terrible day to do this. Work from home, they said. It'll be fun, they said.